pause. And we're going to be sending that recording over to all of you. So you saw how we did it with the Microsoft. Those who were with us with the Microsoft trainings, we'll be doing the same with the trainings for this job development training series. Because if there's anything that you missed, you can always go back to the recording. But of course, we encourage you to take notes. Also, if there's anything that you need of our facilitator, well, he is available to all of us for any questions that you may have. You may think of something a week from now, 2 weeks from now. We just want to make sure that anything that you need, we're an additional resource to all of you. As I mentioned, please keep your screens on mute. We want to make sure that we hear all the wonderful information that Will's going to be sharing with us this morning. As I mentioned, we'll be sending the recording and also an evaluation form. If you would like to receive a certificate of completion for attending today, we'll be making sure to send those out to you electronically. All right. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce our wonderful speaker, Mr. William Brownlee. He's also known as Will, so we can go back and forth. He's an Army veteran with more than 25 years of experience in the areas of business development, recruiting, staffing, job readiness consultation, internship development, as well as records management and dignitary protection, which covers the Department of Defense, Naval Sea Systems Command, and Department of the Navy and Department of State. Will currently functions as Prince George's County Business Services Representative for the Maryland Department of Education, Division of Rehabilitation, also known as DOORS, where he administers workforce development and disability awareness etiquette support to businesses in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. Will also an Americans with Disability Act Leadership Network trainer and certified federal job search trainer and certified federal career coach. So if that doesn't tell you enough about, we have a great resource in our hands to be able to walk us through this training series. I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm so excited that our partnership with Will has continued to grow over the years, and he's a constant fixture within Project Hire. So if you see my face or Adrian's face, you're definitely going to see Will at some point in your travels with all things do Project Hire. So I'm going to yield the floor to Will. Without
okay. Tell Adrian say hello.
Hi, James.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. I will say that if you don't know my face, you're going to see my emails at some point in time. I have a very, very broad reach, as well as my colleagues in my section. We cover the entire state of Maryland. So if there's a job out there, we have contacts with those folks, you'll hear about that particular job. At the end of the presentation, I'll have my direct contact information as well as the contact information for my entire team. But keep in mind, I'm not the leader nor the director or the manager. I'm just a pawn in the chess game. I have a wonderful manager who's very, very supportive named Wanda Peel. She's the first line of contact, but like I stated, and like Ms. Berkeley stated, I'm assigned to PG County and I'm covering Montgomery County also. So without going any further, because I can talk a lot, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to start the presentation. Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I can see the screen.
I titled this presentation on resumes, a ticket to an interview, a ticket to success, because in essence, the resume will most likely be the first point of contact or first means of contact you will have with the employer. So, excuse me. So what you say and how you say on your resume will determine whether you move forward to the next step in that process or you get passed over. Okay. Excuse me, my throat's kind of dry. So what this presentation is going to cover, I hope that it will help you understand what makes a well formatted and well put together resume. They, they will leave a good impression with the employer that it can effectively show and market your knowledge, skills, and abilities. We're going to try and also to get the accomplished to where there's no holes, there's no gaps. It is a solid, bulletproof resume that's easy to read and will get the employer engaged to continue to read through your resume rather than read the first couple of sentences or first job or two and then pass you by. We're also going to talk about, and I'm going to explain to you how you can effectively display your knowledge, skills, and abilities to highlight your experience, because your primary purpose at the end of the day is to show the employer there's nobody out there better for this particular position or this job than I am. And if you do that with your resume in this particular format, it greatens your chances, because the whole purpose, which is the last bullet here, to increase your chances of getting an interview. In some cases, on paper, we may not shine, we may not actually have that luster, but yet our personality will connect the dots. If you can get in front of a person, whether you have a disability or not, I've been at doors for almost 5 years now, and that's my sole purpose. My sole purpose is to get the consumer in front of the employer so the employer can get past that word, which is disability, and concentrate on that individual's ability. So
Mm.
that's the key. Get that face to face, because I've seen people get their jobs not because they were qualified, just because they had a wonderful spirit, they had a positive attitude, they had a can-do attitude. So that is the key. A lot of things can't be expressed on paper, but it can be expressed in person, through your mannerism, through your how you carry yourself, how you can keep that constant eye to eye contact, and how you interact with the employer slash hiring manager. Pop quiz. I'm not going to ask for answers for this. I just like to throw this out there because I find it, very, very intriguing. How long does it take for the average recruiter or hiring manager to decide whether a resume is worthy of reading? You ready for this? 7 seconds. Every resume gets at least 7 seconds before they determine whether they want to continue reading over it or they want to pass it by. And that is based off the organization of it, how it's set up, what it says, and what it says, how it's relevant to the slot or the position I'm trying to seek. So to put that into perspective, if I'm looking for an auto mechanic and I get a resume that talks about somebody being a doctor, I can't use that. So if I see he's talking all about medical and I need to know, I need somebody who has experience in transmissions and engine repair, but I'm seeing body repair, human body repair rather than auto repair, then I'm not going to waste my time continue to read this resume. I'm going to pass it over. So make sure, and I'm going to show you how to do this later on in the presentation. Make sure that your resume is geared towards the job announcement and it connects with the job announcement. Else you're applying for a position and the employer is going to see that you're not qualified if it doesn't make that connection. This is just an explanation of which I already covered. The key to all resumes is to keep it as simple as possible unless you're applying for a specific or high end role. Clean and simple resume. Spacing is very important. Don't jumble it up. Don't have a lot of extra words or have it too wordy. Make it clear and concise. Make sure you have your section headings. Make sure that you don't overuse bold. Don't overuse capital letters. Don't use too many colors. Keep it as simple and as plain as possible. Make sure that there's plenty of space, like I stated. We as readers, we tend to look for breaks in the works that we read. And when you have a resume that is packed from top to bottom with a bunch of text and there's no eye relief, such as the spacing, then you have a tendency to more or less not want to be fully engaged and reading that particular item. So keep in mind the spacing is very, very important. And also fancy graphics, pictures, charts, and things of that nature. Some of the employers use a piece of software, a program on a computer that scans the resume. And when they scan the resume, they're looking for keywords. Be sure, be absolutely sure that you remove any graphics and things of that nature from your resume, because that may work against you when it comes to if the employer uses scanning software. The objective statement, that's normally at the top of the resume that states, seeking an entry level position and such and things of that nature. That's old news. That's old information. No one is using that nowadays, and that puts that makes your resume not seem up to date and current. The substitution for that is a professional summary. As many ways, as many different ways that this particular heading is used or called. It's a professional summary. It's a summary statement. It's a few other things. It's a branding statement. But what it does, it tells the employer when they look at your resume, one, what type of resume that you're providing them, how many years experience you have in that particular area, and also if you use a summary statement correctly, you can include some additional skills or what I call USPs, unique selling points, that are not relevant or not listed in the job announcement. A unique selling point would be a soft skill that maybe wouldn't actually pertain, or a specialty that would not be pertain to the job announcement. Such if I was seeking a job, let's say as a police officer, okay, and let's say I got a background, in software. As a patrol officer, I may not actually there may not be a requirement for that particular position. However, in today's age, the police cars do have computers in them. So that may be beneficial if this employer, well, yeah, we always have a problem with this one particular software. So by
Mm,
him having some type of IT background, he may be able to assist us here and there. So that's why the professional summary slash summary statement slash branding statement has replaced the objective statement, because the objective statement, this puts you into one category. It does not allow you, or doesn't allow the employer, because the employer in most cases would not look at your resume and find out what other transferable skills you're looking for. Keep in mind that in the average job announcement, they may get 30 to 100 responses. So they're trying to get through all these resumes as quickly as possible. So if you say I'm looking for a position as a um, as a receptionist, but yet they have a mailroom clerk position, they may not position open. They may not take the time to actually see whether your skills are transferable into that mailroom slot. They see that you're looking for a job as a receptionist, and that's all they're going to apply your resume to. Spotlight your key skills, whether the top of the resume or the bottom of the resume. You got to list some skills that are relevant to the position. And in some cases, if you have a long, extensive work history, you can work that into, your job description. But in customer service especially, I would always recommend putting together a set of skills at the very top, right under your branding statement, such as conflict resolution, which is very, very good for customer service, um, problem solving, analytical skills, customer service, attention to detail. Those types of skills are beneficial in moving you forward and what the employer may need in that particular, job that they're seeking. The key part to actually building your resume, let me just back up one quick second. Your resume is never finished. It's always changing. It is always evolving. Every time you apply for a job, you need to rewrite your resume to cater to that particular job announcement. There's no resume out there that answers every single job announcement. You're going to have to change it every single time. So if your resume says you have Microsoft Office skills, and the employer in the job announcement states that you got to have 5 to 6 years experience in Microsoft Office, then you put that 5 or 6 years in there if you have it, or you put 3 or 4 years. If they're looking for so many years experience in the job announcement, then somewhere in your resume, you should be listing how many years experience in that particular field that you have. That helps them out and that helps them connect you with that position, because at the end of the day, you're competing against other job seekers. And like I said at the beginning, you want to give the employer the impression that there's no one out there better for this job than I am. Okay. And then, if there's requirements that are listed and you got those requirements, put the fact that you have those requirements. If it states, you know, um, let me think of something else. 7 years customer service in a hospital environment. If you worked in a hospital and you worked in customer service, then you need to incorporate that into your resume somewhere, whether it's in the skills section or it's in the job description section. But for every job that you have, you got to list your responsibilities that connect with the employer is seeking. So if you have a job as an information specialist, let's say that you're working information desk at a mall, and they're looking for someone to work as receptionist at a hospital's front office. Although you may have the skills and you may have the capability of doing that, but if they want someone who has experience um, interacting with the public, then you have that because you worked in the information desk and you worked in the mall and your whole job consists of dealing with the public, then you incorporate that into your resume. But one of the simplest ways to do it, with the exception of the federal government, put bullets for each of your job duties, but be sure that you put that in a capacity to where it shows that you not only came to work, but you made a difference, when you came to work. In other words, don't put something, let's say if I answered phones, the average person will put answered phones and transfer calls. No, if I'm going to do that, I would need to put how many phone calls that I answered and how many phone calls I transferred. In the business development and workforce development world, we call that quantification. I'm gonna cover that a little bit later in the presentation, but it's best for you when you describing your job, how much, how often, and for who. Use strong verbs, assisted, cooperated, and things of that nature. Don't forget any volunteer work you have that may be relevant, regardless of how long ago it was. If you um, were in the Boy Scouts, that's beneficial because that's a form of public service. Um, be sure to include any volunteer work that you may do or other interests that are connected with the job that you're trying to get. Some of the skills that you acquired during that time and in that period may be relevant to the job that you're trying to get. I already mentioned quantification, quantify your bullets. To shorten this slide a little bit quicker, add numbers whenever possible. If you're doing something on a regular basis, such as answering phones or escorting people, tell the employer how many phone calls you answered, how many checks you processed, how many times you perform escorts, how often did you do, inventory and things of that nature. How often? How big was your team? What was the products? Incorporate those numbers because that shows your value. When you're doing the body of your resume, which is the duties of each job, you have to show that you have value. That you didn't just come to work and just collect a paycheck. You can made a contribution to that particular entity's success on a daily basis. The what and the why. Resumes are your marketing outline. It tells the employer what you're bringing to his or her organization. And when you talk about marketing, it's always visual first, and then detail second. So when we talk about marketing too, as you see at the bottom, I mentioned Target and Walmart. The best way I can convey this to you would be to look at marketing in a broad sense, advertising. Okay, now this is examples. The best way I can just show you as far as bad advertising. If you look at the Burger King picture, it says Burger King. SpongeBob is here hiring managers. That's a typo, but it misrepresents what they're actually trying to convey to the public. What they're stating is that maybe there's a Bob SpongeBob toy there, but they're also hiring managers. And then I'm going to skip to the bottom one where you see there's a airline advertisement where it's Turkish Airlines, and the way they have it set up, it looks like the plane is crashing into the ground. That's not a good visual effect when it comes to marketing. But rather than go on the bad marketing, let me give you ideas of good marketing. Chick-fil-A for the longest time has the best logo when it comes and marketing strategy when it comes to their product. They always have the cows against the chickens. The cows don't want to be killed and don't want to be eaten, so they encourage you to eat, chicken at Chick-fil-A. But a little bit further, we're coming up on Black Friday, which starts the Christmas shopping season. And when you look at this Walmart advertisement, Walmart does it best. When they send out their Black Friday advertisement, the first thing you see on the cover page is this big, huge widescreen TV at a low, low price. And when you see that this 65-inch TV is for under $300. That makes you want to pick that flyer up, and also makes you want to flip through the other pages. That is what we call a hook. If you see that there's a TV, a 4K TV, 65-inch for 278, then you know that it's got to be something much, much more within the pages of this. So that prompts you to turn the page. Then you see a deal on page one. You see a deal on page two. So now you're more engaged. You're going to go through this and you're going to scrutinize every single page of this particular advertisement, because Walmart hooked you through their marketing strategy by putting the best stuff first. And that's the same thing you do with your resume. You put your best skills up front. If you have a college degree, you put that right up under your professional summary before you even get to your job. If you have a college degree or some type of educational training that is connected to the job you're seeking, you put that up front. Excuse me. Another way to look at it is if you look at an ice cream cone. If you look at an ice cream cone or an ice cream sundae, and you got the works on it, you got the ice cream, you got hot fudge, you got crushed peanuts, you got sprinkles, you got whipped cream. All the good stuff is on the top, and the ice cream holds it up. That's how you need to look at your resume. Put the sprinkles and the toppings, all of the best things, the best skills that you have. Put that up front for the employer to see who you are and what you're bringing in addition to your work experience. What else you're bringing to the table? So, you can look at your resume as an ice cream cone, or you can look at it as a marketing flyer. But
Mm.
always put your best stuff at the very beginning. your college, your specialized training, um, your work experience that really connects, your unique selling point, your particular set of skills that you may have, but all this stuff still must be connected and be associated to the job you're trying to get. Now I'm going to get into the meat of this while we're here today: resumes. There's three types of resumes. There's a chronological, functional, and there's a combination. Each of these resumes that you may choose will be solely based on your particular situation and your working experience. And in most cases, they're not interchangeable. Based off your working background and your experience, each one of these would be beneficial to you based off that situation. And I'm gonna go a little bit further into this. Chronological resume is the standard resume. It lists your working history from the last job you had all the way back to the job you had at the very beginning, or at least 10 years ago. Okay. This resume is preferred by most employers because it is the industry standard. Okay. It's good for those who have a solid work history with no breaks. If for somebody who has experience that aligns with the job you're applying for, which means that you're pretty much staying in the same field doing the same type of work. So if I have 3 or 4 years or 5, 6 years as a secretary, and I'm applying for a secretary position, then this type of resume will probably be beneficial to me. Also, I will have to have continuous employment. That means that I can't be off of work or not working in my field for no more than 6 months. So if I had a job as a UPS driver and I'm applying for a job, no, let me back up. Let's say I'm applying for a job as a UPS driver, but the last job that I had was a security officer, and the job I had before that, I was a truck driver for, let's say, Coca-Cola. A chronological resume wouldn't work in my favor in this particular case because that means there's one job that separates me from my last job as a driver. So the job I had, um, the last job that I had doesn't connect with that driver's position. So a chronological resume probably wouldn't work in my favor because I'll be telling the employer some information. I'll be forced to tell the employer information that is not connected with being a truck driver. But there's a solution for that. Well, let me just back up. This is how a chronological resume would look. Okay, the only difference between this and what I've already explained to you was this particular resume, because this person had an extensive background, we didn't really see a need for professional summary slash, opening statement, so to speak. We just went ahead and went off her experience alone. But for those who have the change in occupation to where the last job doesn't match the previous job, and the last job doesn't align with the job that you're trying to seek, a functional resume will probably be a better option for you because it allows you to put only on your resume the job and the experience that you have that connects with the job you're trying to get. You don't have to talk about your job as a security officer. If let me just say it in this way. Let's say last year I worked as a truck driver. This year I worked as a security officer. If I do a functional resume, I don't have to talk about my job as a security officer. I can just only talk about my experience in driving a truck using a functional resume. And it also is good for those individuals who have, you know, um, a diverse working background, to where, just like I just mentioned, to where, my previous job doesn't match the job I had before that and doesn't match the job I had before that. This allows me to put my resume in a fashion to where I can only talk about the experience I have that connects with the job announcement. And also, if there's breaks in my employment, or the dates don't match up, it takes attention away from those dates. And it will probably push me a little bit closer to giving the employer exactly what he wants to see or what he or she wants to see as far as relative experience. The uses for this is, like I said, you got the breaks or lapse of employment. This is real good for those who have a gap where you have not worked in, let's say you have not worked in the last 1 or 2 years, or there was a 2-year break in between this job and the job you had before that. This type of resume will work better for you. It's also for those who have a background to where, I worked at Ross for 5 years as a cashier, and then I worked for UPS as a truck driver, and then I worked as a security officer. This type of resume is good for those folks because depending on which job you want to go for, you only can talk about the job that you had and experience you have that connects with the job you're trying to get. The other jobs that are not connected with that or don't really work um, in that direction, you can leave those off. It is good for those that are recently graduated from high school and college. You can use your curriculum, your classes and things you've learned. You can put that in the body of your resume as what you did for the last 5 to 6 years. The skills and the trainings that you receive through your schoolwork. You can use that to actually connect you with the employer and also get you connected or get your resume aligned with the job announcement. And this is an example of a functional resume. And if you can look where it says a summary of qualifications, those are the skills. Yeah, the qualification summary. Those are the skills that I mentioned. Office management, spreadsheet reports, event management, customer service, Microsoft Office skill level, intermediate. Let me just say this. I'm gonna break away real quick. Microsoft Office is not a skill. It is a software program. If you're going to put Microsoft Office as a skill, then you need to put at what level you are with Microsoft Office. So you can say 6 years experience in Microsoft Office, or in this case, Microsoft Office skill level intermediate. If you put Microsoft Office as a skill, that's not going to work in your favor. But to go a little bit further, if you look over to the work history, this person was a service specialist. They were a paraprofessional, and then there was a security officer. The very first two jobs they had were security officers. This is what I meant by, in this particular format of a resume, functional resumes, you only talk about the experience you have that connects with the job you're seeking. In this case, because she used this format, she didn't have to talk about her experience as a security officer. All she talked about was her experience in admin support and as a paraprofessional. The security officer stuff wasn't relevant, so she didn't have to talk about it in this particular format. So that's something to keep in mind. Where if she used a chronological resume, each one of those jobs she would have to put the duties and responsibilities, and that may work against her. But in this format, she's only talking about all her experience and skills that are connected and what the employer probably wants to see. So it puts your best stuff forward, your best stuff, the stuff that is relevant in the employer's face. And if the employer wants to know about your security background or her security background a little bit later, they can talk about that during the interview. But just shows that she has the knowledge and skills and abilities in admin support and also clerical. The last type of resume is a combination resume. It takes the um, the skills and the chronological aspect of it and combines them. This is more for those people that are in the creative arts field or in the computer realm, to where you have to specify certain proto- processes and programs and softwares and things of that nature. You got to have a detailed work experience to use this one. And we're not recommend using this one unless you have a lot of substantial information and you have a good solid work history. And when I show you the example, I can explain a little bit further. But in this particular case, this person was a software networking specialist graduate. So it said at the very top, recent graduate, University of Maryland, University College, okay, educated in design, implementation, administering network security. And then we got the technical competencies, which is the technical skills. Then we got the core, which mentions all the softwares and things of that nature. Then we talk about his experience, which all this is school related. This resume was based off his college transcripts. Okay, but then because it's a combination, we go down to where it says his professional experience. We see here that as far as him working, he has volunteered. He was a events director at his church, and he was an usher at his church. But if you look at the resume, nothing in his resume talked about him working at a church. The purpose of the combination and the purpose of a functional resume is to take the reader's attention off of the dates and the locations where you worked and to concentrate on your skills, your knowledge, and your abilities. If you read all this and this is what you're looking for, by the time you get down to where he worked at, that may not be relevant. You will probably want to pull this person in and see how much of this information that he has on his resume is valid and whether this person would be a good fit for your organization. Before we go any further, anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Well, we have one question on the chat. How many pages should the resume be?
That would be based off your work experience. If someone tells you that you only need 1 page, that's outdated, that's old, and they're misinformed. If you can do everything within 1 page, great. But in some cases, as you see from my examples, these people had extensive experience and extensive backgrounds to where 1 page would not have been sufficient for them. So 2 pages is the limit. 1 page is okay, but whether you go 1 page or you go 2 pages, make sure that what you're putting on there is connected to the job announcement and it is significant and it is worthy of reading. Don't put anything in your resume that is miscellaneous and too generalized. Make sure that if you go beyond 1 page, that your resume, at the very least, answers each one of the job requirements.
Also, how far back should the list of experience go? In the past, I know I have personally heard that you should cap it at 10 years. Or can you just include all of your work experience?
With the exception of federal government, 10 years is sufficient. The federal government is the only one who wants something beyond 10 years. Okay, if you're going for let's say a job with any other private company, FedEx, UPS, and anybody else, Exxon, 10 years is sufficient if it is relevant, if it supports that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do that particular position you're applying for. I can't stress that enough. At the very least, you got to show on paper that you qualify for that position.
Miss Valerie.
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, James. You can ask Will.
Mr. Will, what's
sir.
the difference between a simple resume and I not understanding what you mean by a simple resume.
Okay. Um, a simple or a chronological resume would be just a standard resume where you would list, you know, your name, a professional summary, or basically an introduction of who you are. My name is so and so. No, no, better yet, I am a customer service specialist with 5 years experience in customer service. I know how to do such and such, such and such, such and such. Then you get your skills, and then you would list your jobs from the one you're doing now, or the one you had most recently, and then you go back to the one you had before that, and then one you had before that, and then one you had before that, and go back 10 years. That is the simple resume. And as I mentioned with the other two, in some cases, our lives are so different and our lives are so unique that I may not have all the jobs, jobs that I had in the past. They may not all be office related. Um,
I'm listening.
or let's say I could have worked at Ross. I worked at a doctor's office for me because that would force me to talk about me working at Ross. But if I go with a chronological resume, I don't have to talk about what I did with Ross. I can just go straight to what I did at that doctor's office. I was just
Yeah.
list that I worked there. When it talks about my professional job as far as the locations, I can put that a little bit later. Does that make sense?
So the chronological order,
Get
this
up.
pretty much the jobs I had plus my
The
work.
chronological the chronological means it basically means that they're numbered. They're numbered from the one you had most recently to the older ones. They're in chronological means in order by number. And,
Okay.
and, and in this particular case,
So
it's by dates.
chronological is by dates pretty much.
Right.
I
So
think.
so
And the
from
function and the functional is just more in depth.
say that again.
So functional is pretty much being more in depth.
Um, I would recommend as much as possible. I wouldn't say in depth. If you can get, y- if you can show your worth in the fewer words as possible, then take that approach. But you have to show that you were productive. You didn't just come to work every day and collect the paycheck. There's many ways you can do it. Some people can do it, in one sentence. Some people can do it in 2 to 3 or maybe 6 or 7 bullets. Everyone's unique. It's all about how you can put your words together, but you have to convey to the employer at the very least that if I worked at Ross and I stocked shelves, how many shelves I stocked on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So I can say that I stocked, 450 shelves per week. That shows the employer that okay, I can handle, a volume of a repetitive task.
Okay. Repeat.
You good?
Okay then
Oh, yeah.
one last question. Is it okay?
Go ahead.
Is what did you mean when you say keep track of how many calls you take a day? How do you do that?
Okay. Okay. You can just guess. Okay. To better get you so you can really connect with this. What is your past working experience?
I
The
was
last
a
job you had.
I was a public service aide slash receptionist for the Department of the Environment.
Okay. So you're receptionist for Department of Public Environment. Did you answer phone calls?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So you would just guess. but try and be as truthful as possible. So, how many phone calls did you think you answered per day?
Anywhere between 6 and 7.
6 and 7. Okay, then you would take that 6 and 7 per day, and then you look at how many days per week you work. Okay, so if you answer 6 or 7 and per day, so 7 times 5 is 35, right? So you answer 35 calls per week.
Oh, I see what you did. I see what you did. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So
Okay.
right, but in that particular case, I would take that, and rather than doing, you know, per week, I would take that 35 and do it for the entire month. Because the larger number you put up there, as being truthful as possible, the better your
Mm-hmm.
chances are. Okay, so
Okay.
I wouldn't just sit with 35. Forgive me if my calculations are wrong. I got public education, but you know, I think my math is good in that aspect. Okay, so you take that 35 and you multiply it times 4 weeks, so you answered 140 phone calls per month.
How many?
Okay, so that was 140 phone calls per month. So keep that in mind. I transferred 140 phone calls on a monthly basis. That shows the employer that, okay, he has consistency. Okay. And if you include, to be more colorful with that, if you said, answer phone calls, 140 phone calls per month, and also greeted guests and process documents XYZ, now that shows the employer that you can multitask. So
Okay.
that's another thing you can use in your favor. So you got an understanding now?
Yeah, so pretty much be detailed as possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I have a question?
Okay.
Can we put some abbreviation in our CV?
Can you say that again? Can you put
Can we put some abbreviation in our CV?
abbreviation of the city?
CV, yeah, CV in our resume.
Okay. When it comes to abbreviations, and this is with any type of writing you may do, you spell it out the first time, you put in parentheses. Can you see the example I have on the screen?
Not really, no.
Hmm? Can
Mm,
everyone see the example I have on the screen at the very, very top where it
no,
says professional summary? You can't see it?
no. Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Can you see what he's saying?
I don't know if I can because this is a photo. But anyway, you
No.
spell it out the first time. You spell it out the first time. You put in parentheses, and then you show the abbreviation. And then once you spell it out the first time, every other time that you need to use that particular phrase, you can just put the abbreviation.
Okay.
Okay. When it comes to cities, don't abbreviate the cities at all.
Okay, thank you.
You can abbreviate the state. You can abbreviate the
Okay.
state because that's universal. Everybody knows the MD, followed by
Uh-huh.
by a comma in front of a city
Yeah.
or a state is going to be Maryland. Okay, but be careful with abbreviations, especially when you're dealing with software, because not everyone knows all the software. Okay, but
Okay.
spell it out the first time, put in parentheses, and then every other time you need to abbreviate it, you're fine.
Okay, we have to use those abbreviation that these are most common for all, like UN, United Nations, MSH.
Right, because there's several entities out there that
Look
uses
at
the
our page,
same
man.
abbreviation,
You can't see
so
nobody.
that you got to be very careful with
The
that.
wrong page on it.
Can everybody please mute your microphones, please, because I'm hearing background talk. But yeah, there's some companies out there that use the same abbreviation or same acronym. You know, so you got to spell it out the first time so so the reader can understand. Because if I put
Okay.
University of Maryland, which University of Maryland am I speaking of? Eastern Shore, University College, the main university, or what?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, spell it out the first time, put the abbreviation in parentheses, and then you should be good to go. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions so we can move on?
There's one last question on the chat. What is the proper way to add college experience if you haven't graduated yet? Do you just list the expected graduation date instead?
That is an excellent question, and that question is exactly correct. If you're currently in college and you have a projected graduation date, that's exactly what you do. You put the college, university, the city, the state, the degree that you're pursuing. In some cases, some of the courses or the curriculum that you're taking, such as cybersecurity, computer networking, and you put the expected or estimated graduation date, where you will put the date that you actually graduate. That is excellent question and also a excellent answer. So yes, you put the estimated date of your graduation there as the completion date. But you be sure that you put that estimated graduation date or projected graduation date, 2019, 2020, 2021. But other than that, unless you completed it, as far as training, unless you completed it, it's probably in your best interest not to put that on there, because especially college, because if you're a career student and you don't have anything to show for it, um, and you are trying to market yourself, that does not work in your favor, because some employers see that as, okay, this is a person who can't complete tasks. So be mindful of that. Also, when it comes to education and dates, be mindful of that. Um, like in my case, I cannot put that I graduated from high school in 1986 on my resume, because that will tell the employers that they'll do the math where the average person graduates between 17, 18, 19. They can do the math. Okay, well, he's in his 50s. Now, college is a little bit different because you can go to college at any time in any part of your life. But I will say that when it comes to college graduation dates, keep that within 10 years, just like your employment. If it's beyond 10 years, then just list it as college, college education with a degree, and talk about that during the interview. I don't know whether anyone in here falls into that category, but I got to put it out there just to be sure, because I don't like to assume anything. So if you got college within the last 10 years and you put your graduation date beyond 10 years, you leave the graduation date out, but you still put that relevant college experience on your resume, and let that be discussed during the interview or during the additional paperwork process of the hiring process itself. Okay. So are we good? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna take that as a yes.
One last question. Oh, okay, here he is. Okay.
Oh, so the next slide answer your question.
Hi, good morning. This is Miss Belfont. I have a question to ask you.
Hmm.
Question. Okay, so I graduated from college in 83. So I don't have to put the year I graduated, just the degree I received, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And what you want is you don't want anything. The whole purpose of this hiring, the whole hiring game, it is a shell game, and you have to be upfront, you have to be honest about it. But it's better for you to explain or advocate or mitigate anything that may be seen as derogatory. It's better for you to get that point across face to face than rather in paper, because black and white does not sometimes work in our favor. So
Okay,
if you were to put that you graduated from college in 86 on your document, depending on the person, I mean, they may not see it that way. Unfortunately, in this day and age, I do not need to tell y'all that there is still many, many forms of discrimination. There's age discrimination, there's race discrimination, there's sex discrimination. It still exists. It just exists behind closed doors. So what
Sure.
I'm giving you is advice on how you mitigate that.
okay,
So, but to bring this point home, if you leave that date off, it's easier for you to advocate on your behalf about that date when you're sitting across from an interviewer rather than have that person just assume something based off what they read.
okay. I see what you're saying. Okay,
The whole purpose at the end of the day is for this particular document, which is your resume, to get you in front of an employer. Because when you get in front of an employer, you can pretty much sell yourself at that point. And anything that may come across as being questionable or subjective, you
Mm,
can give them an answer for it.
okay. I see what you're
Okay.
saying. Yes,
okay. Okay.
thank you.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. Now getting back to the resumes, the resume, how your resume should be formatted at the top. Name. In this day and age, your physical address, your mailing address is optional. You don't necessarily have to put that on there these days, because back when I started working, they mailed you rejection letters. We're in electronic era now to where you'll probably get your response via email, uh, text, or voicemail. So if you leave your physical address off, be sure you put a valid, professional looking email and a phone number, because your response will probably be via voicemail or email for the most part. Okay, right below that, you put your qualification summary. It's called a qualification summary, professional summary, your highlights, your professional profile. It's many different things. Um, per person to person, face to face, we call this your elevator speech. It is a brief summary of who you are as a working professional to introduce you and as well as your background to the reader. So in my case, I am a workforce development specialist. I have 5 years experience working with the disability community. I have 25 year experience, working resumes and records management and so forth and so on. That's what you need to incorporate in there. Let the professional summary slash highlights pretty much sets the hiring manager and human resources person up for the type of resume that they have in front of them and what they can expect to read and how they can connect that with the job. Below that, at this point, you have two options. If you have a college degree or you have any specialized training that is directly connected with the job you're seeking, you put your education next. Okay. If you just have a high school diploma, you will put that down at the very bottom. If you have a degree, if you have, like if you were going for a job as a cook and you have Safe Serve certification, and you got that in your background, you want to put that Safe Serve up in the front. Going back to the ice cream cone with the sprinkles and the chocolate and the glitter and all the other taste goods, the little things on the top of an ice cream cone or sundae that makes it look so appealing, you want to put that up front. And then whether you use the degree and the education at that point or not, the next one should be a solid set of skills. At the very least, customer service. Everything you do in a working environment where you're working with and around somebody else, you're providing some form of customer service. But you can build your skills list from the job announcement. from the requirements. If the requirement says Microsoft Office experience 5 years, boom, 5 years experience Microsoft Office. When you're doing your resume, it's best for you to be as honest as possible. Do not be deceptive, because if you say that you got 5 years experience as a doctor, and you get in front of an interview and they ask you a question about that 5 years and you can't answer that question, you just shot yourself in the foot. So be very, very mindful of that. So you get your skill sets together, right below that, and then you go into your employment history. The name of the employers, your start date, the end date, current to from current to previous. List the employers, the city, and the state. When you talk about your duties and your tasks for that particular job, we go back to that quantifiable contributions. That's what we just talked about, as far as the volume, the number of calls the phone calls you answered, the number of documents you process, things of that nature. If you can include any situation or problem that arose on a daily basis that you had to deal with, then incorporate that in there. At the very least, there should be some type of results, or better yet, that part of your resume should be results driven. It's good for you to actually look at a scenario and then try and incorporate it. But yet, we're not going to touch on that, because I got 5 proven formulas I'm going to go over a little bit later in this presentation that will cover the results and the accomplishments and the quantifications. So we're going to skip over this. And when we get down to the bottom, we'll take care of that. Other relevant experience, once again, we're talking about that volunteer work. Anything you did as far as a volunteer that connects with the job you're trying to seek, then you should put that on your resume. Professional memberships, such as, to give you an example, like if I was a lawyer, I will put that I'm a member of the Bar Association. If I was a police officer, I'll put that I'm a member of the Fraternal Order of Police. If there's any type of, like in my case, I'm in human resources. So if I were, a member of SHRM, I will put SHRM there, which is the Society of Human Resources Professionals. Oh, I forget the term, but that's what I would put down there. Okay. I already talked about the objective statement is no longer, it's considered obsolete and outdated. Also, do not put references upon request at the bottom of your resume. That is an outdated and old practice. And that would show when you do something that's outdated and out of practice, that would pretty much tell the employer that, okay, this person is not up to date on the industry trends. So it opens the door for more subjective thought. So objective and resumes upon request are no longer required on the resumes.
Instead,
I
we
talked
can use summary statement.
the summary statement. That's what I'm covering right now.
Yeah.
Summary statement, professional. It's professional. Like I said, it has many names: professional profile, professional summary, profile statement, branding statement, whatever you want to call it. It is an introductory, similar to elevator speech, that talks about who you are, a summary of your experience, skills, attributes that describes how you qualify for any position at glance. It is a short introduction of who you are.
Mhm.
Okay. It gives a hiring manager a
Yeah.
quick insight into who you are as a candidate, and allows you the opportunity to punch in those keywords. As I mentioned, some employers use that software, and they concentrate on certain keywords. So if there was a data processing, and it mentioned that, you had to do so many words per minute, or have computer background, you have to mention that you got some type of computer background in your resume. Okay. All right. Moving along.
Yeah.
Now we get into the good part. I'm gonna show you how I got 5 formulas here that I can help you build the duties of your resume. Formula 1: is a description of the measures telling what, how much, how many, and how often. And I have this color coded, which is the simplest way I can teach this. Okay, so if you look at the example, this would be in the body of a resume under the job. What, as a tier 2 manager, and then we look at yellow, how much? 9 program units comprising at least 110 total staff. Okay, so the how much is the 9 program units supporting 110 staff members. How many? If you go down to the next one, okay, let's back up. For bullet number 2, what? Provided administrative support. How many? For 20 systems engineers, for 4 project managers. Everyone see how this is put together? What, how much, how often, or how many? That's one method for you to actually put into the duties of your responsibilities under each job. So to put this into a simple term that I already covered, as a phone operator, managing a 9 extension phone system, I transferred 110 phone calls to HR representatives on a daily basis. That's how this formula can be applied. Everyone understand that? Okay.
Yes.
And then formula number 2 would be for those who are more on the high end. When you're, especially in finance, you would talk about the dollars and cents in the same format. Rather than going to too detail about this will be there for you to look at later. The value of the work. Okay, it's value of work plus a connecting word plus a description of the activity. And I have it color coded. Help produce more than $15 million in retail sales. Okay, the connecting word is by, and then the description, initiating and running a local pilot program. And it just goes on and on and on and on. This is more for the folks that deal with actual sales, so and actual high-end sales. So I'm not going to too much concentrate on this. I just threw this in there because this particular training I provide, it's on I provide this on a multitude. It's not just for the disability community. It's for the American Job Center and everybody else. So I have to cover all bases with this. But Formula 3 is the combination of both of those, but still it's more for those that are dealing in sales and marketing and things of that nature. For the sake of time, I'm going to go on to number 4, which is the best way you can do this. Once you get the core duties and responsibilities down, and this also works for the federal government too, it's the STAR method or the CCAR method. Describe a situation, describe the task that you are assigned to do with that situation, or it can be a situation or a task. And then the activity. What did you do to address that situation or that task, and the results? What was the outcome of your activities to address that situation or task? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. So do I need to emphasize this a little bit more, or can I go forward? Everyone have a full understanding of this, because this is probably this is the second best of these methods that I can recommend for you. Okay, good. Number 1 on there is this is all these are proven, but this is probably the best and most easiest formula I can give you to do your resume. Now, we talked about putting a
Excuse
set of
me.
yes.
I need a little bit more help to explain what does it mean. You lost me.
Okay. For the sake of time, I got my information at the end of the slide. I would want to meet with you one-on-one, so we can go over this slide by slide, so I can make sure before I go any further that you have understanding. So my contact information is at the back. I would gladly would love to do a one-on-one with you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I know this is a lot of information, and all the presentations I sat through, I don't retain all of it. So
Okay.
I'm always available. Like I said, my contact information is going to be at the end of the slide. You reach out to me and let me know when you want to do this one-on-one, and we can pick through every single slide, page by page by page by page. Um, Training is no good if no one can retain the information. But
Okay.
in some cases, when you're given something on this broad scale, you have to be mindful of the intermediate as well as the advanced. And
Uh,
sometimes you got to circle back. So in your case, I want to circle back. I want to do a one-on-one with you. Just be absolutely sure that when I finish the second session with you have a full understanding of what I'm talking about. But I got to be mindful and respectful of the others, because right now, time is crucial in this particular training. So, like I said, my information is at the back. We'll circle back, and we'll do a one-on-one. Okay.
okay, thank you so much.
Okay. So getting back to this Formula 5, once you build your solid set of skills, all you would do when you talk about your jobs is explain and elaborate on those skills. So he has 9 years experience as a custodian. If you go down to the experience in green, supervise a group of of 7 cleaners and maintenance workers. Then you got the yellow, ability to handle equipment, snow blowers, oysters, airlifts, pneumatic and cyclonic vacuums. Then you go down to the experience, performs dusting, washing, cleaning, mopping, and things of that nature. So if you look at all the colors, the color of the skill, if you go down to the bottom where the experience, I show how that particular skill was exercised, and that build the resume. So if let's say you worked at Ross and you put that you got experience as a cashier, your skill is cashier and handling cash, and then when you go to the job with Ross, you will put how you actually process sales as a cashier. Everyone understand this particular formula?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sir, don't worry. You and I, we're going to have a long and intense conversation, because you exist. I'm not going to let you fall by the wayside. Like I said, we're going to address this one-on-one. So hold tight. Okay. This is just something I threw in there. According to Indeed, I think this is 2017. These were some of the most overused words on the resume. I don't think you should avoid some of these. Experience, certified, leadership, and excellent, focus. I would leave those alone. In fact, now in hindsight, I think I'm gonna delete this slide, because some of these you can't avoid, and I think is relevant. So we're gonna skip this. Okay. In closing, the resume portion of this presentation, your resume should not read like a job announcement. As I stressed earlier, answered phones, closed doors. No, your resume should read with volume. Answered 500 phone calls, supporting 9 program managers, and so forth and so on. Your resume should tell the story and not, I'm sorry, it should show the story and not tell the story.
Mm.
Okay. It doesn't have to be too colorful. It doesn't have to be too wordy, but the quantification, which I mentioned earlier, and if you use one of the 5 formulas, it will help you build that substantial resume. Because at the end of the day, your sole purpose is to get to the next step in the application/hiring process, and get in front of an employer and connect the dots. Show the employer that you have everything that you mentioned on your resume, and more. Okay.
Mm.
Now we're going to talk briefly about cover letters. Um, let me just say this. I'm kind of mixed about cover letters. If I'm applying for a job, I'm meeting with the employer in person, I don't use cover letters. If I am um, responding to a job announcement to where I was introduced to an employer through whether at a job fair or from a colleague, I don't use cover letters. The only time I will use cover letter is when I'm applying for a job from off one of the job sites. Let's say Indeed or Monster or one of the other job or in LinkedIn. I use a cover letter only when I have not met or talked to the hiring manager. Okay. And
Okay.
what, hmm?
Nothing?
You had a question?
No.
Okay. Okay. And a cover letter explains three things: why you're writing, refers to your qualifications, and then it closes with a suggested plan. Okay. Number one, why are you writing? Are you applying to a job announcement? Or you referred to by individual? Did you read it somewhere? What's the situation? Okay, so um, the first part of your this would actually be the first paragraph of your cover letter. I spoke with you at the careers with disabilities job fair, and I explained to you that I had a background in such and such, and you suggested that I send you my resume. That's an example of paragraph number one in the first part of your cover letter. Number two, now you described how your qualifications match the job or the announcement or the information you spoke of during that actual brief conversation you had at the job fair. Talk about what experience you have that is related to what the employer is looking for, what you have to offer. Make references to the same information on your resume. Okay, but if you in some cases, this is I'm drifting off a little bit. Some of us we fall into the road to where we do the same. Each position we have has the same exact duties and the same exact responsibilities, although they were different companies. Let's say that I was a truck driver for UPS and I was a truck driver for FedEx. My duties are exactly the same. Rather than put the same duties on my resume, you know, for two different jobs, change it up a little bit. There's ways to where you can say the same thing but say it in a different manner. And the same thing when it comes to make references to your resume but don't repeat. So you can say, hey, as you will see on my resume, that I got experience as a truck driver with UPS and FedEx. Or as you can see on my resume, I have the ability to handle, a multi-level phone system able to transfer a high volume of calls. Referring to my resume, that goes back to the 140 phone calls I transferred on a monthly basis. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And the greatest thing about a cover letter, it gives you the ability to elaborate a little bit more. This is a personal correspondence between you and the person who you're contacting for a job. Your cover letter can be wordy. I wouldn't suggest it going beyond a page and a half, but you can be more expressive but still be professional in your cover letter. You can be more personable in your cover letter. However, big no. Only when I talk about being personal and being personable, be sure that you only talk about your experience and the situation as you as a working professional. They don't need to know about, where you grew up. They don't need to know about, the town that you lived in. No, they want to know about your working experience only and the skills you have associated with it. Okay. The last part of your cover letter would explain how you expect or you want them or you intend to follow up. Okay. It is your responsibility to close this. Okay. Um, please let me know at your earliest convenience when we can speak, to when we can further discuss this particular opportunity. Okay. As many
Yeah.
different ways you can say it. Somebody had a question?
Yay.
So, leave it open. But more importantly, give them options on how they can take the next step. Be sure that you include a professional email address and a working phone number for them to follow up with you if they are interested in you. Although it's probably at the top of your cover letter, is at probably at the top of your resume, you always want to drive the point home because repetition sinks in. Okay. And this is my actual working letter. I mean, I'm sorry, cover letter. This is a example of my cover letter. Okay. I'm gonna briefly cover just how I cover the 3 points. Okay. I'm writing because John blank and blank suggested that you might have an opportunity, for a project coordinator within your company. That covers number one. John tells me that the project manager requires such and such, and then I talk about all my skills and abilities that are connected with the opportunity that I'm seeking. And then closing out, I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss um, your requirements in the future, and hopefully we can have a conversation by the end of day, and then I will put my contact information in there. So how and why you're contacting them, what you believe makes you qualified, and what additional skills and abilities you have that connect with the actual opportunity, and then you slowly migrate over into the point to where they will reach out to you, or how they can reach out to you, or when you would like to get some information, or just even start a dialect with them, with their date, time, contact, a phone number. And I can just tell you this much. Sometimes a cover letter and a follow-up letter does not have an immediate effect, but it does have a long-lasting effect. I received a lot of phone calls 5 or 6 months after the announcement has closed, after the job has been fulfilled. It didn't work out, that particular opportunity for them, but I made that lasting impression to where 5 or 6 months later, I received the phone call. Hey, you still interested in position XYZ? And then, I was set up for that position.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
So now we're open the floor to questions.
Thank you so much for this. This was a lot.
Okay. All right. So thank you. This is the business service team for Doors. Region 1 is Western Maryland. Region 2 is east of the Bay Bridge, over to Annapolis and surrounding counties around Annapolis. Region 2, Part 2 is the Eastern Shore. We have Baltimore City, which is Region 3, Baltimore County, which is Region 5. Region 6 is PG County, Montgomery County, and we also have a section for the Office of the Blind and Vision Services. However, this is just preliminary, and of course, our manager is Wanda Peel. But for the sake of this, That's my contact information. I'm the PG County representative. I am representative for Doris in all of PG County. My contact phone number is there. My email is there. Okay. A young man who I promised a additional training to. Be sure that you contact my phone. I mean, write down my phone number and my email. Okay.
Okay, I will.
Okay. I'm gonna
Uh,
leave this up there.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a gynecologist, and I worked as a senior quality assurance in Afghanistan in one of the international organization. I cannot practice here because of my I have no. I have certificates, but in the US they will not accept these. Now I have to apply for other position. Like recently, I applied as a Pashto translator. Will they accept me as a translator? Because I have no experience of. I have the experience of translation. Because in the organization which I was working, but I didn't mention it in my CV. Should I include it in my CV?
Yes. Believe it or not, you are a valuable commodity
Mm-hmm.
in this area alone. The Washington D.C. metropolitan area is a very, very, very diverse international community.
Mm-hmm.
And because you got a background in the medical field, I
Yeah.
would I would be looking into those entities that needs a translator, but not just a translator in general terms, but a translator who can translate the medical terms.
Yeah, I can.
Because of you, because you've gotten you're in the medical field, so you can talk to a doctor at the doctor's level, but then again
Yeah.
you can translate down to the average everyday citizens level too. So
Yeah.
some of the terms and the jargons you can fully relate to, that that you may not. Me, if I was in the same situation, I wouldn't know how to break that down to someone from my country that will truly understand it. But you have working knowledge of both sides. I would
Yeah.
recommend to you that you try to get into a opportunity, and also freelance too. You have the opportunity to be self-employed with this, and
Yeah.
market yourself out to those hospitals, you know, and those entities that are related to your native country, to where you can be a medical translator.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Thank
mean,
you.
interpreters and translators in this day and age, they're very, very needed.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah. So, but the one thing you have over any what country you're from?
I'm from Afghanistan. I'm familiar with many languages like Persian, Farsi, Pashto, and a little Hindi, and little English.
Right. So imagine, imagine, let's say somebody from the um well, I can't put it to an example, but let's just say that somebody from the Afghanistan embassy gets rushed to George Washington Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and um the mother of a child doesn't speak American at all. Okay,
Yeah. I have
they would
16
need you
years.
to come in.
Sorry?
Right, they would need you to come in to actually be able to communicate what the doctor is saying to the family and relatives. So
Yeah.
I would look into that.
I have 16 years experience in family planning, and I'm ultrasound specialist, sonography specialist. But in the US, they don't want to accept my certificate, and I think they need to do some attestation.
Right, right. So my suggestion to you will be to capitalize on my two specialized experience. You got medical specialized experience, and then you got the ability to translate in multiple languages.
Mhm.
Marry those two together and market yourself to entities in the health field as a translator, a medical health translator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay,
No,
well, that's all that I have.
thank you so much.
I have a question, Mr. Brownlee.
Yes.
Yeah, I am a special ed teacher teaching high school students, and right now we are doing resume. Can I make copies on your lectures for my guide? They are special ed students, so I will modify the resume that you lectured on me.
Okay. Well, this is it's kind of tricky. I can tell you this much.
Yeah.
If you take the information
Yes.
from my presentation
Uh-huh.
and you redesign it and you
Mhm.
reword it,
Yeah.
that's legally fine. If you use it verbatim, then you will have to use the actual video itself. But
Oh, okay, right.
okay, but if you take the information and you revise it and you revamp it, that's
Yes.
fine.
Okay. So how can I make copies from your lecture?
Okay, well, it's being recorded, so you would just have to pull out the videos and you just have to generate your own information that way.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. It's very helpful to me as a special ed teacher for my high school students. I
Okay.
learned a
Well,
lot.
well, did you take down my contact information?
I took, yes,
Okay, so
I got
you
your
can,
contact information.
okay, you can reach out to me,
Yes.
and we can discuss this a little bit further.
Okay.
But I understand that my position as a business service rep, I'm not so much as a job a workforce development how can I put this? I'm not so much as a job developers.
Okay.
My sole purpose in my position is to educate businesses and entities in the realm of employment for the purpose of hiring people with disabilities.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Great.
so and doors we have we call pre-ETS program, which we actually will reach out and we would try to groom those that are 16 to 19, those that are ready to get ready to transition from high school into the workforce.
Oh, okay. Great.
We have a program in place to where we try and provide them all the tools necessary to advance them to the next step in
Oh,
their lives.
all right. Got you.
So reach out to me because we do have a high school outreach portion, so to speak. However, they would have to more or less be doors consumers, but we can talk about that a little bit further.
Okay. But although I have my notes and I have previously developed resume for my kids, but I see I can revise from your lecture. I can revise my present.
Okay, well,
like-
reach out to me and we'll talk about this one-on-one.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Thanks
Hi,
so
good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Ms. Belfont. Can you email me your contact information and I can get back with you? Because I don't see it pulled up on my screen.
Okay, I have it
Yeah.
up right now.
Already shared.
You see it now?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, my phone number
Uh-huh,
is 301
okay,
967
uh-huh,
7257.
7257.
Yes. And my
Okay.
email address
Uh-huh,
is William,
all the way out.
WILLIAM, period,
Uh-huh.
BRO,
B is in boy.
B as in boy, R as in Robert, O as in Oscar, W as in whiskey, N as in November, Lee as in Libra, E as in Echo, E as in Echo. So William.Brownlee,
Oh, Brownlee. Okay.
right? And make sure it's two E's because some people spell it Ley or Lie.
No, I just
Brown
did.
as in, okay, Brown as in color, Lee as in Bruce Lee, but there's one word at Maryland.gov and spell out Maryland.
Okay, at Maryland.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, you have a question from Latanya Jones. She has a raised hand.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay,
Yes.
hi. I'm just wondering, by any chance, do you guys ever get any jobs for any seniors? If so, should I also be registering with the DOORS program because I'm also disabled? I'm a senior and I'm disabled.
Yes, I can actually make the determination on whether, because I don't know the particulars of your situation. I would suggest that you would go ahead. I mean, any type of service that's out there for anybody that is federal, state, and locally funded, if you feel that it can benefit you and moving to the
Yes,
next level,
yes,
I implore you to at least go after it. You know,
okay,
I'm a big proponent that no one tells me no. But yet, I don't tell myself no until I hear the reasons why. So
okay,
some people tell you, well, you shouldn't really do this, you shouldn't really do that. No, you go ahead, you do it anyway. So
okay,
what I'm proposing to you is go ahead and apply and let them to make the determination. Because if they do make the determination, whether you accept it or not, they will provide you other avenues and other outlets.
okay. Well,
Okay,
I'm
but
gonna
in the
call.
meantime, I would also too, I would want you to actually reach out to the American Job Centers, which is in
Oh, I
Largo.
did. Okay. Oh, is that what's, where is that? On McCormick Drive?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there I'm registered, but I definitely will, contact DOORS because that would definitely be helpful to me.
Right. Just go to doors.gov website and all the information is
Yes.
there. You can apply online through the website.
Okay, I will do just that. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're
William,
welcome.
how you
Yes.
doing, William? Yes. My name is Kevin Jameson, and I'm from Armor Enterprises. We have a job club. Do you guys talk to people that like have a job club? And because we have a couple of individuals that's looking for a job, and myself is looking for a job in the government area.
We're partners with Millwood and Allmore Services. Have them reach out to me. I mean,
Okay.
the folks over there, they should know me.
Okay, I'm gonna write down your information. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send an email I'm gonna get the information to my job coach and see if she can set up something so you can talk to the club.
Okay. What's your job coach's first name?
My job coach's first name is Laverne Bridges.
Yeah, she knows me. Have her reach out to me.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are
All
there
right.
any questions for Will? All right, I think those are all the questions, Will, for now.
Okay. Great.
All right, well, I just
Okay.
want to give a thank you to Will. Did you have any closing remarks for the group, Will, before we start saying our farewells?
Nope. All I'm gotta say is that keep in mind, folks, this is a 4-part series, and we, Doris and Project Hire, we're trying to get you from the paper portion all the way up to the front door, all the way up to where you actually are in front of an employer. So be sure that you attend the other three trainings, because we got preparing for interviews coming up. We got Valerie, help me out. What was the other two? Preparing for interviews.
Interview skills and are you ready to work?
Right. So between the resumes, we already got the mail-in portion done, the submission portion done. Now we're going to take you to the steps. Okay, well, what do I do now that I've gotten the phone call to show up for an interview? Okay, and then once we go through that, we got a second phase of that, and then once you're once you get past that portion, we have the last part, which is more or less like a checklist, but it's in a presentation form. One, do you have all the things in place for you to start work today, tomorrow, or the next day? Okay, so that's very important. So we're trying our best to make sure we give you all the tools to get you from submission of your resume to actually getting in front of an employer. And from that point on, you should be able to close the deal. If you hear all the training and you're taking all the training that we provide you.
All right, I think I couldn't have said it better. We're building, everybody. So this is a great foundation to start working on ourselves. And then the next step is how do we show up for that interview? So that'll be next Tuesday, November 10th at 10 a.m. Again, we'll have a 2-hour block. But as you saw, come with your questions. Come, whether you have questions for yourself, or you've had discussions with others about the interview, what kind of questions I should ask in an interview, what should I expect in an interview, should I show up, what should I wear? We're now going virtual. How could a Zoom interview look like? So like that, just have your questions ready. As you we have questions on the chat. You unmuted yourselves, you ask questions to Will. This is why we love working with him, because as you saw, he's very thorough. He went step by step as to how your resume should look, the things that you should focus on when revising your resume moving forward. And then also the cover letter, which a lot of us or may not submit a cover letter, and making sure that you have a complete package when you show up and submit that. We'll go through that first step of submitting your resume and your cover letter. So thank you so much, Will. I know I learned a lot. I was having sidebar conversations with Adrian, and we were excited because we know how important this step is, because being that we've interviewed participants of Project Hire, we work with other community partners, we understand how critical it is. So I thank you so much for providing such detailed information. After today's training, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will send over resources like we normally do, in addition to the information, like We're gonna share with you, we have shared sample resumes and cover letters in the past, so we'll share that information as well. So keep a lookout for that. So give us about 48 hours to send you that information or sooner. But if you have any questions between now and next week, definitely let us know and we'll get in contact as well if we don't have the answers for you. And we'll also include Will's information with our follow-up email to today's training. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, I'm excited to see many of your faces for another week. For those who are signed up for tomorrow's PowerPoint training, well, I'll see you tomorrow. And I did hear from our folks at the Office of Information Technology. They were gracious enough to do another Microsoft Word training. I'm just waiting to hear on dates and times. So be on the lookout for that information. If it's something for you that you want to go through again, or if you know others who would like to go through the training, definitely share it. So just stay tuned. I don't have the dates and times. Once I do, per usual, I will share it with all of you as soon as I have that information available.
Thank you.
You're welcome, everybody. So happy Tuesday, happy election day. Go do something relaxing. With the type of day we're having. Go vote.
Vote.
Yeah, I already voted.
For
Thank
those
you
who
guys.
haven't
It was
voted,
so-
thank you,
I like
everybody.
this.
Have a wonderful day, and we'll see
Thank you,
you tomorrow
you
and
too.
next week.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank
See you later.
Thank you very much. Bye.
you.